Why we're here today is obviously we've had some significant developments in the Berit Beck homicide that took place back in 1990. Back then, you know, we viewed that case as a bold stranger abduction, and those are tough to solve. I think we all know that. If you look at statistically, they're not the type of crime where you have, you know, a doer of the deed and the victim right there. You're already in a real bad situation when the situation starts. So having said that, I think we all know why we're here. We'll take some questions and we'll go from there.
Can you give us a timeline of how we got here in,
Okay.
you know, in the last few months?
Okay. I think everybody knows Berit Beck walked out of the Forest Mall area back in July 1990. It was 11:04 a.m. We're confident of that. We found her van, I want to say, on the 19th at probably about 1:30 in the afternoon. The city PD found her van. Run ahead to August 22nd of 1990. We found her body over on Brown Road in Waupun. I'm still one of the unfortunate ones that still works here. I was a detective at the time, so I have that timeline pretty good in my head. The case has never went dead. We've always, you know, meant to try to solve it, obviously. Recently, there was a cold case piece in the local newspaper, in the Reporter, which prompted us, obviously, to get some calls and some leads. Detective Lamont at that time had resubmitted some evidence to the crime lab, and at that time we got a report back, I want to say in late February, on the results of that test. So,
What did it say?
well,
Like bingo?
I wish things said bingo, but they don't. What it basically did, in my mind, and in Lieutenant McGee's mind, District Attorney, and obviously Detective Lamont, who's like I said, the lead investigator, Detective Mullenbach, we looked at that at the point where, you know, in the Berit Beck case, it has been a nightmare since the day it happened, obviously. It was the first time I thought we had tangible physical evidence to intimately put someone in the interior of that van. And that's as far as I'm going to go on that. We can sit here and ask the same question around and around. It's not going to change my answer. That's as far as we'll go with that. We want to, obviously, it's an ongoing and active investigation. I know you guys hear that a lot. So that's where we're at, and we're here to take a few questions, but please try to keep them within the scope of where we're at.
At the time this happened, this guy's a trucker. In the 90s, there was a task force actually watching a series of women who were abducted and dumped near interstates.
Yeah.
Do you have any reason to believe that this is more than an isolated incident, or could this have been related to Lori Deppis, any other cold cases?
Right now, we don't know. That's the best answer I can give you. We're actively going forward. We're hoping that the public, as we've done all along, is why we're here today, we're hoping that the public remembers something, that will have some kind of leads that come in to help us along with the investigation. It's the best we have to date. But to say that we're going to link this to anything else at this point would be really premature.
But has anyone taken any affirmative action? For example, I don't know, you heard from Menashe, or is the DOJ maybe resubmitting some other evidence and now comparing it to this guy's profile?
I can't tell you at this point right now if we have a developed profile on them. Does that make sense?
In other words, you don't have DNA. You don't have a DNA link to this guy.
That's where we're getting off the track here. Okay.
Meaning you don't want to answer.
There you go. I don't want to answer. Yeah. Very clear. Thank you.
Can you please tell us how the suspect's hands are involved in this? There's quite a few paragraphs about his hands and deformity, that sort of thing.
I think that'd be a question much better for him.
One of the things in discussing with the crime lab, we learned that having photographs of this individual's hands would help them in analyzing some of the physical evidence that's already been in the possession of the sheriff's office. So Based on that and the information from the crime lab, we decided that getting those photographs would be helpful in analyzing that physical evidence.
These are fingerprints, I would imagine?
Well, like I said, we have physical evidence, and the information we received from the crime lab is those photographs would help analyze that evidence.
What can you tell us about the suspect? Is he going to be arrested, charged? Is there a warrant out for his arrest? What's going on with him?
I can tell you this, that we're going to go forward, and I hope there's going to be a charge. I hope he's going to be arrested. I am saying, back to what I said in the beginning, this is the best physical evidence that we've had in this case in the 23 and a half or how many ever years it is that we worked on it. I've been here that long. So
Is he talking to you?
I can't go into that.
Did you actually take photographs, and do you have the photographs of his hands?
We did execute that search warrant, correct?
No.
We did not? Oh, go ahead.
I think most of you received a copy of I think the Fond du Lac Reporter broke the story on Sunday morning, and the affidavit that you have, I think, was the basis for that story. And if you go back to the last page of the packet you have, it's the search warrant was not executed.
And why wasn't it executed?
We do have photographs.
So you do
I'm
have
sorry, what did
photographs
you
of the
say?
hands?
Warrant, so he voluntarily let you take the picture?
What I can tell you is we have photographs in the search warrant, as it says in the packet, was not executed.
Typically, just speaking generically, does that mean often when things are, you get what you want and it's not served, that you get voluntary?
All I'm going to say, I know there's a lot of questions that you might have for me or for the sheriff or for Lieutenant McGee, but I think you recognize there are some things we can't answer at this point. So what I can tell you is the search warrant was not executed, and we do have the photographs.
And do
So
you have
are
any?
you close to filing charges or not?
We don't put timeframes on filing charges, especially a homicide charge, so we're not imminent.
Is there any concern that he's a flight risk now, knowing that all these reporters have information on him and you guys are looking into it?
I think
Boy, it certainly has ties to the community down in the Kenosha area. That wouldn't be, everybody's a flight risk. I mean, I can't tell you what he will or won't do next. I can tell you when we have enough information, hopefully that we'll have an arrest warrant in hand and he won't be a flight risk any longer. But I can't tell you what the next move anybody in this room is going to do.
Can you sort of tell us what's going to happen in the interim? Obviously, if you're waiting, it's because you're just not sitting around thinking about it. You're doing things. What's going on in the interim that you need to develop?
There are some other things that are submitted and some other evidence from the van that is submitted. And I'd really rather have Lieutenant McGee, you can brush, I don't even know the name of how to articulate the lab that it's at, to be honest with you. But I know we do have stuff, other pieces of evidence that are submitted. Why don't you answer that one?
Yeah, what I can answer on that is that there is some trace evidence down at the Milwaukee Crime Lab. There is also numerous other follow-up interviews that are taking place, and follow-up witnesses are continuing to be contacted. So that's where we're at with this, and whatever develops from here forth is going to be immediately followed up upon.
When you have a case that's that old, what are the issues with the follow-up interviews? I mean, this is still, it's something you remember. But
Well, there's multiple issues with that, such as memory, things like that. But with a significant amount of events, we're hoping that somebody has a clearer memory of information with that.
Can you give us an idea of the scenario? You said at the beginning that your vision was that it was a bold stranger abduction. What do you think happened? Do you think it happened in that parking lot? I mean, where are you going with this now, do you think?
You know, that is obviously, you will get three different theories from three different people. I look at it as we certainly can't tie anyone, or we can't make any sense why our person here would be in that truck to the family. And typically, when you find a body in a ditch, we typically call them dump sites. And at that point, I would call it a bold stranger abduction until the day I die, unless, because I guess to answer the question more clearly, is that when you walk backwards, we can't show that there was any reason that there would have been anybody from her immediate family or whatever, which makes it bold, that was involved in it.
Now, these two both come from the southern part of the state. I mean, Berit Beck was from, down between Sturtevant Way, and he was from Kenosha. Is there any reason to think they might have ever crossed paths, or that he followed her?
We don't know. We will, and I say that hopefully we will be able to answer those questions. I'd love to come back in here and be able to answer every one of these questions that you have. Right now, I don't have the answers to those. I'm hoping we will at some point. We certainly know that our suspect in this lived up in the area,
Up here?
up in the Green Lake area, Brandon area at the time.
At that time?
Right.
And then could you talk about sort of you were here, I mean, the emotion, I mean, is it relief? Is it excitement? Is it fear it may not be the guy and you've been disappointed so many times? Can you talk about the emotional part of trying to clear something like this?
Well, I can tell you this, it strains everybody. I mean, and I'm not even going to go to the same level that the Becks are obviously strained on Mr. and Mrs. Beck and a horrible loss that they had. But detectives and their interactions with each other is strained. It really runs you down a little bit. I just don't look at it in any way if we arrest someone and we're comfortable that that's the person that did it, we forward it up to the district attorney's office. I don't know if there's no high five and there's no win in this. There's just not. It's not like a game. We're not winning. I don't see how there's any good outcome of this. It's justice.